What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So, we got a lot to talk about here for you guys in this episode. First, an intel officer who worked directly with Russian President Vladimir Putin escaped and is telling his story to the world. That's right. Take a listen here. This is absolutely fascinating.
Thanks so much, Ben. And out front now, Ilya Roshashvensky, reporter for the Dossier Group, which is run by Mikhail Khodorkovsky, a Russian opposition leader. And Ilya, you spoke with an officer who fled Russia's Federal Guard service and right in the middle of a foreign trip. So he's with Putin in Kazakhstan last October. These are pictures from that very trip. And then he escapes. I mean, it's an incredible story. What did he tell you about how he managed to do it?
So he had this business trip to Kazakhstan with Vladimir Putin in October, and on the last day of this trip, he decided that that's the right time. That he told his colleagues that firstly that he had some problems with his stomach and he needed to stay a little bit more in his room in hotel. After that, he told them that probably he would spend a few hours searching for shops, trying to buy something memorable from this trip. And and he got additional hours to pick up his wife and his daughter, to grab a taxi and to go to the airport. The flight was delayed, so he spent this time really nervous, and he understood that his colleagues that they were starting to understand that something was going on, that he was trying to escape probably. So he switched off his phone, and 15 minutes after that, he boarded the plane, and here we are now discussing his interview. He is perfectly safe and sound.
Yes, although incredible, I know he was aware that had they realized what he was doing, they could have turned that plane back. This could have ended very differently. And the officer told you, I know, Ilya, that he believes that Putin is paranoid. And the quote that he shared with you was pathologically afraid for his life. And I wanted to share with our viewers some of what he told you about that.
He has been living in an information cocoon for the past couple of years, spending most of his time in his residences, which the media very fittingly call bunkers. We have to observe a strict quarantine for 2 weeks before any event, even those lasting 15 to 20 minutes. He doesn't use the internet or a mobile phone. He only receives information from his closest circle.
Ilya, these are incredible insights, that he doesn't use the internet or a mobile phone, and that, if you're a guard on duty with him, you have to spend 2 weeks before any event, even if you're only going to be with him for 15 to 20 minutes. What more did he tell you about Putin's state of mind?
Well, that Vladimir Putin relies on some special reports from his secret services, and he also really loves watching Russian propaganda, and that's all. That's all his sources of information. He also told us about that Putin is really paranoid, so he arranges some cover-up operations. He makes everything look like that he's flying from one city to another. His plane is departing, and everything is going like he really departs from one city to another. But in fact, he stays at the place and he just enjoys his time. So he just arranges these operations to make everybody think that he just left. So probably one of the most important things that he told us is that Putin is in a great shape. Well, Gleb Karakolov served for 13 years with Federal Guard service, and for 13 years he's been in more than 180 business trips, mostly with Vladimir Putin. And because of his illness, because of illness of Vladimir Putin, only one or two of these business trips were canceled. So we can probably assume that within 13 years, he felt sick like once or twice. That's really incredible. So Vladimir Putin probably is not going to die anytime soon.
Now, I know that you, which isn't, I mean, as you say, 2 times and 180 trips to be sick, it is something. You were on the show a couple months ago, and you and I were talking, Yeli, about your reporting on the armored train that Putin's been using, according to your reporting, to travel, right, basically between his Dhaka, his weekend home, and Moscow. You said it had a special communication system, sort of made to look like a Russian train, but there were ways that you could tell that this was his special train. We now know that this officer that you're talking about was the source who told you all the details about this train. Why does he want to speak out now and share this information with you, Ilya?
Well, he wanted to speak out and to tell everybody that he's against this war. He wanted to address to his colleagues from Federal Guard Service and to let them know that probably they should do something. They should try to stop this war. He wanted to address to Russian citizens and to tell them that they should oppose this war, that he cannot believe that they support this aggression against Ukraine.
All right, Ilya, thank you so much. As always, I really appreciate your sharing all of your incredible reporting with us. Thanks.
Yeah, so you guys can let me know your thoughts there. Yeah, also, doesn't appear, at least from this, that Vladimir Putin is sick of maybe any kind at all. Remember that months ago we had maybe heard some rumors of that. Remember with him gripping the table and that maybe he had cancer or an illness. It doesn't appear from this guy, this source who worked with Putin for years. He doesn't think that that is the case. So maybe that is out. So we will see here. Also, I find it interesting that literally, somebody on the inside with Putin wants to escape and flee with his family. Doesn't feel safe. Um, you guys can let me know your thoughts here on that, but why do you think that that would be the case? You would think that with him being in on the inside with Putin, that he would be protected. But no, he flees for his life. And, you got to think that if he gets caught with this, it's over. It's the end for him. How risky that was. And he risked everything and fled for his life. So think about what a risk that was. And he decided it was worth it. That's how bad this guy thought it was to leave. Now, that tells you something. So, yeah, and honestly, this reminds me of Hitler. If you've watched some movies on Hitler, especially that movie with Tom Cruise, I think it was called Valkyrie. It kind of reminds me of that. My wife, she's just got a memory like no other, man. Yeah, Unagi. Man, she remembers everything from 20 years ago, man. She'd be like, "Oh, remember that one time we went to dinner 20 years ago, and I was wearing these shoes and we went to this," and I'm like, "What?" It's just like, okay. But yeah, she's something else, man. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of reminds me of Hitler. You guys let me know your thoughts here in the comments, but especially how he wants to take over country after country after country. He's already taken over Crimea. He's now trying to take over Ukraine. They've already leaked plans to take over Belarus, and they also have leaked plans to take over Moldova. I mean, just see the list of countries here. And if there was an opposition from Ukraine and from the West, the United States, and pretty much most or all of Europe, would they have taken over Ukraine? We have some different opinions on that, but I showed the map here on the previous video. They've only gotten in 10 to 15% into Ukraine. So, not very far. And remember, Ukraine's got about 40 million people, so it's quite a tall task here for Putin. Also here yesterday, Vladimir Putin berates U.S. and EU envoys, top official, says that the U.S. aid fueling Ukraine's war's hot phase. Yeah, Russian President Vladimir Putin told the new US and EU ambassadors in blunt language here yesterday that their countries were responsible for a dramatic deterioration in relations since Russia sent its armed forces into Ukraine last year. Well, yeah, no kidding, because they just didn't let Russia invade the country and just take it over. Just they didn't let Russia just do what they wanted, right? The ambassadors were among 17 who presented their diplomatic credentials to Putin at a televised ceremony in the Kremlin. Putin told new U.S. Ambassador Lynn Tracy that U.S. support for a revolution in Ukraine in 2014 had led to the current situation where Russia and Ukraine were in conflict. Well, yeah, because again, you just didn't let Russia just take over Ukraine and just become Russia. He said relations were in a deep crisis that, quote, based on fundamentally different approaches to the formation of the modern world order. Saying, quote, Dear Madam Ambassador, I know you may not agree, but I cannot but say that the United States use of such tools as support for the so-called color revolutions, support in this regard for the coup in Kyiv in 2014, ultimately led to Ukrainian crisis. Now remember, in 2014 is when Russia took over Crimea. They literally basically just invaded Crimea and took it over, stole it, right? Speaking separately, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said Moscow needed to maintain relations in Washington, even though American supplies of weapons to Ukraine meant we are really in a hot phase of the war. Lavrov told state television that Russia had not yet lost hope that the United States will wake up to reason and resume some kind of dialogue. Russia responded to a 2014 uprising in Kyiv that drove out a pro-Russian president by seizing the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine and backing an armed separatist movement that took control of the territory in the country's east. Russia says it was forced to intervene in Ukraine to stem Western interference that was becoming a threat to its security. So basically, Russia is saying that any country that they think is a threat to its security, that they should just go in and invade that country. So that'd be like the United States saying that any country we think is a threat to us, like Russia, North Korea, or China, we should go and invade all three of those countries right now. Based on Putin's thinking, we should go and invade all three countries right now. Can you imagine if we did that? What type of World War III situation would happen today or tomorrow? It would literally be end of days type of situation if we went with Putin's line of thinking, which was his justification for the war for Ukraine. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this, but this is the thinking, the line of thinking, the justification for Putin that makes him think it's okay to invade another country. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. And there's a lot of threats out there. I mean, we literally have Russia, North Korea, and China threatening us on a daily basis. If you've been watching my show, I'll keep you up to date here on this. So make sure to subscribe down below. Click the bell icon. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here's some videos you should watch next. North Korea just sent a warning to Americans. Click on this video here. Or the US government is actually banning some of your items. That's right. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.